Cameraman Grades, cameramangrades.com. Professional consultations for camera operators, video coordinators, and sports video experts at all levels. Find us at cameramangrades.com or contact us directly at cameramangrades@gmail.com for your own sports video consultation. Currently looking for the best camera operator of the 2025 NFL season. These are the best of the best, and we're putting it to the test. Today we're looking at the Philadelphia Eagles versus the Los Angeles Rams, Week 3 of the 2025 seasons. Special shout out to Connor Stackhouse for requesting this video. Connor is a lifelong Eagles fan and always interested in finding out who's got the best film in the NFL and beyond. So, special shout out to Connor, and here we go with the Philadelphia Eagles, Week 3. Kickoff. Nice setup to start. Keeping everything tight, keeping the kicker in the shot. Excellent all around play right there. Okay, great setup to start. Looks really good off the bat here. Already I'm seeing good things out of the Philadelphia Eagles. Good setup. Staying tight with the receivers going downfield. Eagles are looking really good to start off this game. Okay, set up right here to start. Within 5 yards on both sides. Yeah, this is a little farther out here this way. Okay, but they are adjusting to the defensive side. So if you're going to have extra yardage behind the defense, that's going to make sense as routes are going that direction. Defenders are going to be dropping back. And look at that right here, everybody's still in the shot. That's a really good overall result of this. Even though they came out a little wider early, immediately recognized once the ball was thrown. Okay, and you can see that difference right here. Okay, as soon as the ball is thrown, they're not zooming out anymore. They're immediately recognizing that this play is shifting directions. Everybody's going to start going the other direction, and it ends up as an interception for the Eagles anyways. Play's dead. Eagles get the ball, and really kind of a excellent result for the filmer and the team in general. Obviously a great way to start this game in the opening drive. So, all right, next play. Okay. So here, this is a good tight setup to start. We got motion at the beginning of the play, so that's changing things a little bit. Defensive shifting. Cameraman immediately adjusts, recognizes the shift, and what that's going to do to his setup is going to change a little bit, but it's a run, keeping it on the ground, and then immediately run recognition and coming back in at that point. You know, you're dropping out a couple guys across the top here, but that they're clearly not doing anything as far as it pertains to this play. They can get into the next play if they're interested. All right, excellent work. This is a great start for the Eagles cameraman in Week 3 of the 2025 season. see what the Eagles do with this drive. Good setup, top to bottom to start. And zooming out a little bit, looks good all around. A little bit of a buffer around the edge. Top to bottom, can't get any tighter. Yep, and then adjusting towards the defense just a little bit right there. That's good, and zooming out. Run recognition once he pulls the ball down and starts running. It changes the direction of where the camera's going at that point. Changes the direction of where the defense is going, and so the cameraman should be adjusting to change direction as well. So, all right, this is a pre-planned run. Excellent. This is a great start for the Eagles on this opening drive and coming right back down the field. See if they can put it in. Okay. Let me pause it for 1 second here and then just go right back to the point here. Okay. So it's run on the ground. He pulls out just to make sure that there's no play action. And then once he recognizes that it isn't a run, coming back in. Okay. And yeah. But you can see the point where the run recognition takes place right there. And now we're coming back in. All right. That's what separates, good filmers from ones who don't really know what they're looking for. Okay. Seeing what's going on the field and then adjusting accordingly. A lot of people will continue to zoom out well after they can see that the ball's not going to be a pass. Okay. Staying with receivers as they're moving downfield, staying with the defense as they are starting to drop back with those receivers. Okay. A little out a little bit wider here on this one, but we'll bring up the box and just take a look. Okay, this is the widest I've seen out of this filmer so far today. Let's just take a look. Oh, they're right there. Okay. You move it down to the corner, they're right about 80%. Okay. And you got extra space over this side, but I'm more concerned up top and bottom at this point. You gotta, work within the frame of where the players are, and that's where they're at. Okay, and there's a player up there. So yeah, this is right where we're looking, and this is as wide as it's gotten today, and it's at 85%. That's the Eagles having a good day, in my opinion. So. Nice tight setup on a goal line, push. Really nothing more you need to do there. Good setup to start and just let it play. Okay. Any adjusting you make there is just going to get in the way. Go ahead and just set it up and let it go. Okay. So this one's kind of interesting. It's a slight critique, but it is notable. There's really nothing pressing that you have to zoom out with at that point. If you've got a good setup, I would maybe move a little bit tighter on this side and bring this in, and then just give more space on that side to the defender side. If there is a rollout one way or the other, it's going to stay within within reason, this direction and this direction. So you're going to be able to just keep the camera on this side for the most part. And that's only in the case that the quarterback drops back and starts scrambling around this, in the backfield well deeper than 7 yards behind the line of scrimmage, right? Which can happen, but it's not the goal of the offense is to be moving this way towards the end zone. So go ahead and just set up that direction. And if they do end up, doing something back behind, then adjust accordingly. But the percentages are in your favor to just go ahead and make this the left-hand side of your screen and then allow you extra space over here. Okay. Since that didn't happen, the ball's centered. Okay. Now the very first thing you have to do is either go left or zoom out. They choose to be a little bit left or move to the right or zoom out. All right, they move to the right just briefly and then decide to zoom out. So that's where having that buffer to the right already works in your favor. Okay, and then if you were set up that direction, you really wouldn't have to move the camera at all for any of this action. It could all just take place within the frame. And again, every time you make an adjustment, it changes how you're seeing it on screen. Okay, right here I'm going to pause it right here. Okay, still see all 22 guys in the shot right here. So that's really kind of where we should be to start, and then you wouldn't have to do anything on this shot. That, the perfect setup. It doesn't always work out. You can set the camera up just perfectly, and then the play just doesn't work out the way that you were expecting it to. But when it is set up correctly, and then the play is exactly what you were expecting to have happen within that frame, that's the perfect play, in my opinion, where you don't have to move the camera at all. And then where the best filmers really separate themselves is that things aren't perfect exactly the way that they want it to be, and how do you adjust? Okay, when people start running 60-yard go routes down the field, can you keep up with them just perfectly along the edge, right? And that is the challenge of filming in this league. When you have those kind of distances between you and the play, and you have players that run as fast as they do at the receiver level. All right, now right here, this is a setup. This is as tight of a setup as you will ever get in football. Okay, this is goal line push formation, and everybody's just going to cram in. You do not have to zoom in on this at all. I see every single number of every single player. This is the most detailed you're ever going to see in the NFL. In this all 22 shot, do not move anything about this. Okay, there's no play action, there's nobody moving, there's nobody running routes. This is a straight set it up and do not touch it situation. Okay, zooming in gained you nothing, moving the camera gained you nothing. There's some shakes and jitters to the camera as you're doing this. None of that helps anything. Just go ahead and set it up and let it roll. And that would be the ideal situation for filming that play. All right, similar to here. Okay, no reason to move the camera. All right. Special teams kickoff. Zooming out with the kicker to keep him in the shot, really doing absolutely nothing back there. I'd say go ahead and just drop him. If the coaches are calling for you to keep him in the shot for some reason, they can do that, and obviously you need to adhere to that. But it really does gain nothing. If you have the option to drop him, drop him. Okay. That run play was fantastic. Nice tight setup, really close within 5 yards on each side. It looks great. This is exactly the kind of setup you want to have. And responding to what's going on the field really, really well. Another nice tight setup within 5 yards on each side. And again, run recognition, 0 zooming out on that, okay? Looks really good. They are off to an absolute baller start for the Eagles on this game. Better than what I saw in week 1, which makes sense. You know, week 1 nerves, people are up in the press box for the first time, and then week 2, week 3 comes around, you're back at home, and you're going to make those improvements from week to week, as long as you're paying attention to what needs to happen and making those adjustments, reviewing your film, making sure that it's on par with what the coaches need. And if it's not what they need, you probably heard about it that week anyways. So that might have been what was the motivating factor for the improvements from week 1 to week 3 for the Eagles. Okay, fantastic. I'm going to take a look at this. Great setup within 5 yards each direction. And right here. Okay, so seeing the play going to the right, and then look at this. Oh, no, quarterback keeps it, coming back left. Okay, and then he's got a guy in his face who's going to throw it away. All right, so the cameraman is recognizing all of this action and moving along with it, which is great. Okay, the one thing I would say is there's really no reason to make those movements since nobody's pressing the edges of your shot. It makes sense to, it's great that he's seeing these things happening and making adjustments accordingly. Okay, but there was no reason to move up and then down again if nobody's really moving off of your screen anyway. All right, and it's human nature. It makes sense to recognize and try to move it that direction. But if there's if you can keep it right where it's at and still get everybody in the shot, that's great. Now, once we get to this point, you are beyond the 5-yard buffer at this point. You're out to 10 yards, and it all happens very, very quickly. But still, ultimately, this is footage that any coach is going to be able to review and make evaluations on players from that. So it works for me. If it works for the coaches, it works for me. But I definitely want to make sure that people are improving any spot that they can. Okay. A little bit more out a little farther on this one as well. Five yards each direction. Zooming out. Okay. Now we're out a little farther than what I would even consider to be acceptable at this point. Okay. Has remained pretty tight going to the right. Maybe it's a left-right bias, right? So some people are better right-handed, left-handed, whatever. Some people are better, shooting a basketball from the right-hand side of the court from the left. Cameramen are the same way, in that they can at times be better when they're filming going with the offense going right compared to going left. And I would say that might be the case here, because from what I'm seeing, this is really farther out than what I've seen in anything so far, where you've got 5, 10, 10 yards plus out to the side there. Okay. Fourth and 6. Field goal. No reason to do anything. 0 movement on that camera. Fantastic. That's exactly what I'm talking about. On the tush push, on field goals, extra points, you're in that tight. You can just go ahead and set it up and leave it. Okay. Interesting. Excellent shot. Not sure what happened with the kickoff there, but they're getting it at the 20, so touchback. That looks good. I mean, paying attention to where everybody's out on the field, allowing people to move within the frame, and responding accordingly. Okay. Okay. Alright. So run recognition here isn't as good as I've seen so far in this game, and it shows, right? All of a sudden the frame goes from where we had been at 90 to 95%. We're now into the 50 to 60% range, right? 50 to 55%. So that's something that I would say at this point is going to be farther out than you really should be. And that's the first I've seen of any point where we're seeing those kind of numbers, this kind of percentage with all this extra space along the edges, which is completely unusable. There's really nothing happening out there. All right. Fourth and 15. Special teams, we're punting. Okay. Good setup overall. Really difficult to find the player, find the ball where it's going to land, and you still want to see where it lands. Okay, that's excellent footage right there. You want to see where that ball lands because it's how they measure hang time and punter statistics. So, but you're not going to see that return player until he enters the frame, and you have to time it out just perfectly where you're going to find where that player is at the time that everybody's coming down and the punt is landing in his arms. Okay. All right. So here we are again. We're back to similar percentages of where we were at before. Okay. Yeah. Quarterback at this point is out of the play. This is really as tight as you want to be. If you are including the quarterback even, you're going to be right there, and that's still leaving a whole lot of extra space elsewhere. But at this point, once the quarterback hands off the ball, his role is going to be completely done for this play, and this is where you're going to want to see it. So at this point, you're back to that 55 to 50%. Okay, so that's why run recognition, you hear the term run recognition so often in a filmer context, because it changes everything that you're doing. You're no longer even zooming out at that point. If you are, you're going the wrong direction because everybody else is going the other direction. All right. Defender called for a push off, didn't get it. Extra point. It's good. Setup's good. Everything looks great. It's good footage. Excellent stuff. Okay. Now, going to kind of nitpick a little bit again. Okay, all this extra space to the left and really tight on the right. Okay, this is the direction everything's going. This is, as soon as you zoom out, you're already gaining space to behind the quarterback. If you're set up towards the defense, you don't have to zoom out, so you don't gain that extra space. Okay, because you have that extra buffer behind the defenders. As they start to back up, you can catch them and start zooming out only as they start to press. But you're not even going to do that because guess what? Run recognition again. It's not even a pass. Okay, these defenders take 2-3 steps backwards before changing direction. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, and then now they're going back forward. I'd say even the last two steps might not have been necessary for that defender, right? And the coaches are going to be able to evaluate that, and that might be their critique of that safety is, why'd you take 2 extra steps right there, right? Just go ahead and rush up on the run. All right. Oh my goodness, that was a big hit. 4th and 18. Special teams, punting. Okay, there you go. All right, so I talk a lot about it. Let's take a look. There's the distance, right? That's the exact yardage that punter kicked the ball, and then we can actually measure the time, the exact time from when the ball leaves his foot to when he catches it, hang time. And in the meantime, we're filming the 22 players on the field. If we're going to bring up the box and take a look at it just to make sure, all right, we're right there, and that's pretty good. I'm more interested in making sure that we get those punter statistics correct as opposed to missing, where the ball lands. I'd rather make sure that this is correct, and then you're within range of what you need to see from the defenders, and there it is, right? Got to see it all there on the field, exactly who made the play, zooming in to see the details after the play. All right, run recognition coming this way, coming down a little far to see Gatorade. Oh, we got guys on the sidelines down here. I don't even know what's going on here, right? We got the lady with the Surface. Who knows? But why not just keep it on the field, right? Right there. Run recognition coming this way. Right there. There's no reason to go any farther. This is everything I want to see right there. And coming down this direction again, it's the natural tendency. So it's normal for people to say, I'm going to put the football in the center of the screen, right? But again, that is adjusting your equipment based on the equipment, not on what's actually happening on the field. We want to change that mindset to what's actually happening on the field as opposed to considering my equipment in it. All right. Got a little bit of space behind the quarterback. All in all, looks good. Again, I say this is the best of the best of football filmers because of the height of these stadiums. Okay, you're looking straight down on plays at times, what feels like a mile away, and the window for zooming in and out is very tight. Okay, you can only zoom out, just a fraction of what you might be able to at the high school level. Okay, so these filmers truly are the best at what they do. There are certainly some college stadiums that are really high up there, and those filmers are also, on par with what they're doing here. As long as they know what they're doing and they're moving the camera in when they should be moving it in and moving it out when they should be moving it out. And that's what this is all about, right? Learning the finer tendencies of which direction should we be going at any given time. This is all really good footage. It's a hurry up offense. They're just lining up and going. Not seeing a whole lot of pre-snap movement or delaying. They're lining up and snapping the ball. And as soon as I say that, that's exactly what happens. But zero movement from the camera, okay? And I'd say maybe even a little more than you need to after the snap. But you had a good setup. There was motion, but it didn't affect anything, so just leave it right where it's at. Looks good. Goal line, run straight ahead. Not a whole lot of reason to move. Probably a little more motion than necessary on that one, but set it and forget it. Don't really forget it. Pay attention to what's going on in the field and adjust as necessary, but most times in those instances you're not going to have to make any adjustments. Set it and forget it is an old Ron Popeil reference. Okay. All right, how wide are we on this special teams? Good setup to start. Moving. Okay, so moving before the kick, zooming out before the kick, going out wider after the kick. Yeah, again, it seems like they're doing squib kicks anyway, so that's probably what the filmers are recognizing and adjusting to, which is great. Okay, I want to see where this ball lands. I want to see how quickly it gets to the returners. This is the second, kickoff in a row that has kind of flubbed right into their hands, bouncing off the ground. So, all right, but at this point, where is it in the box? There to there, down to the corner. You're about 70%. So there's room to improve that, but it's good stuff. If I were a coach evaluating this play, these players on the field, I'd be happy with what I'm seeing here. Setup is good. Motion in, and then coming back out, having to zoom out with it, and that is about as good as it's going to get. Special teams, punt. Okay, zooming out, finding the receiver, finding the ball as it lands, and then everybody's coming in tight. Obviously, everybody's condensing on that one spot. Okay. Good setup, run recognition, coming in on the play. Okay, if I'm going to make any critique of this, it's going to be that right here they come down, right, to show extra space. I understand if he's going to break this loose and start running this direction, you're going to want to see that, but that's not really what happens. They end up just centering the ball and then cutting out a bunch of guys over here and here, cutting off this guy's head completely just to leave more space down here, which doesn't help. Excellent setup. Yes, yes. Okay, wow. All right, this is probably the best play I've seen from a cameraman's standpoint, okay? You got motion before the play, the defender starts dropping back, okay? Safety's dropping. We got motion going out, so that changes everything here. Now, nice tight right along this edge. This guy's coming forward, play action, drops back. Now the quarterback takes that spot, and we've got quarterback within half a yard on this side, and we've got within a yard on the safety side. That is as good as it gets, right? It's not going to get any better than that. And then that continues to be the case. We got 3 yards here, 2 yards here, 5 yards total, right? At this point, the ball's away, and the defender starts running this direction. You are gaining a little bit of space there, but nothing to really worry about. Guess what happens in that space? Quarterback still fills this space, and this receiver is running that direction. So even here, the receiver and defender are filling that edge of the screen. You dropped out a couple guys that are no longer in the play on this side and starting to zoom in. At the end of this play, having a few more guys in the shot wouldn't be terrible, but that is as good as you're going to run on a receivers running everywhere play like that. All right. Yep. Seems like they're dialed in at this point. Any of the extra space that I saw in previous drives is completely gone. Again, going left to right with this camera operator seems to be a better situation for them. They seem to be more comfortable this direction. And guess what? That's something that can be improved on. Okay. There's, if you're that good going left to right, what's the difference going right to left, right? It's more of a mental thing than anything at that point. Yes. 0 receivers on that. Nobody's running routes. That's straight run all day long, straight ahead. No camera movement. Okay? Perfect setup. Obviously, people aren't going to be running everywhere if the play's going straight ahead. Field goal. Set up, get it set. A little bit of movement. Special teams, kickoff. Keeping the kicker in this shot. We did see where the ball landed. So good for kicker stats. Good for, it did not zoom way out. So everybody who was running down the field was able to evaluate, whether or not they did a good job for that one. So, all right. let's just pause this one and throw the box up on it. I'll try to remember to take it back down on this one. Alright, so here we go. Got the box. Put them in the box. Right there. Okay. You're about 80%. Alright. It's not the best stuff I've seen. But there's room to improve that top to bottom and left to right. Okay. So that would be one place where I'd say you've got 5, 10, 12 yards out this direction. About 10 yards, 10 to 12 yards. So that would be one place where that could be improved for the next play. Okay, well, here we go. Run recognition. I'm not mad about this, right? So right here, once you get to this point, well, now that I look at it again, so there's some good things that are going on here, but right here you're still zooming out. The run recognition on a formation as spread out as this, as soon as you see that it's a run, people are going to start condensing pretty quick. Okay, and right here is where I'm starting to see it, and I want to start to move in, still zooming out at that point, right? And that leads to the box being much smaller than it really needs to fill the screen. Okay, so right here you got about 40% of your screen is not being used on both sides there. Okay. Okay. Man, left to right, right to left seems to make a huge difference. Huh. I mean, this is like a completely different situation from the last drive going the other direction. But let's take a look at it. Yeah, you're still back at to 60%. Okay. Two in a row. For as good as the rest of this footage has looked, I wouldn't have expected that. Punt. Okay, there you go. And coming back in tight. Looks good. Okay, within 5 yards. Excellent. Okay, so right here, the first thing I'm seeing is there's no zooming out. It's a left to right pan. Okay, there may be a slight zoom out as he does it, but a left to right pan covers the distance that is going to be needed. That does not require the zoom out. Okay, if you can see that there's a little bit of zoom out because you're gaining depth behind the safety, and this left to right movement should be at the same speed as the safety. The safety is moving backwards, the running back's moving forward. They should be moving pretty much at the same rate. Okay, and so there is a little bit of zooming out because you're gaining space here and here. Okay, but that left to right movement is the correct first decision there. for that setup. If you had just set up with the the defender with extra space behind the defender, it wouldn't have been even been necessary. That looks good. Second and 2. Run recognition. A little bit of jerky movements in there. But recognizing the run and coming right back in. Left to right. Ooh, okay. All right, let's see it. Does the safety go off the screen? Not yet. Not yet. Right there. Okay. We got extra 4 yards to the left, and we've got a safety completely dropping out on the right. And he's back. Okay. So it was a half second, so maybe a full second at the most. But if you're gonna do it, right? If you're gonna be framing up this shot with this amount of players in the shot, and you've got an extra 5 yards here, and no space to the right, what's the easiest solution to that? It's just left to right, right? Just move the camera, pan over to the right just a little bit. You're going to put the edge of your shot here, and that's going to gain an additional 3 to 4 or 5 yards to the right hand side. All right. Same shot, little adjustment that's going to make all the difference on that. But you ran off the edge. You got to release with those defenders as they start backing up. It seems to be the most important thing in the NFL is keeping everybody in the shot as much as possible. Specifically, in that instance, when you got a defender, you want to be able to see their footwork. You want to be able to see their hip movement. You want to see what they're looking at and why they're responding the way they are, right? So I'm evaluating filmers the same way as a coach is going to with that defender. But if he's not on the screen, they can't do it. Okay. Special teams. Very well done. First and 10. Going right to left. Okay. It's still a struggle. I can see the challenge that this filmer's having. It seems like they were where that left to right movement, it seems like it's harder right to left for some reason. I think it's mental. I've been in that situation where it's like it doesn't make any sense that I would be better in one direction than the other, right? But here we are. For all the praises that I had going the other direction, we're back to that 70 to 75%, of your screen being used for actual football. But good news, we're going back the other direction anyway, so there you go. Wow. Looks good. Love to see it. Special teams, perfect setup, 0 reason to move the camera, so don't. Love it. Looks great. Special teams kickoff. Doing everything really well. Seems like the sun came out somewhere along the line. Kind of washed out the footage a little bit, but I don't know if the camera was adjusted to darken it just a little bit, or if the went back to having a little bit of cloud coverage. That's as good as it gets right there. Looks good. Left to right doesn't really matter when you're pressing so hard to both sidelines, because the top of the screen and the bottom of the screen end up becoming the most important things for keeping everybody in the shot. So, all right, zooming out, still zooming out, and that leads to a smaller box than we really want. Okay. A little bit of run recognition would go a long way right there. All in all, it's not terrible. Still seeing what you need to and just recognizing. All right, we're going right to left. Let's see. It just seems like there's a different thought process, or a different standard for people when the team's going to the left for this camera operator. So that would be one thing I would focus on and trying to improve. Yeah. Heck yeah. What a catch. Love to see it. And I got to, because the cameraman was on top of things, right? So that's where I get excited to know that I get to see that play as best as I possibly can. And that play. Let's go. Okay. Yeah, it's good stuff. It's good stuff. I'm excited to see it, and I can, because the filmer was doing exactly what they needed to on that. Special teams. Looks good. Okay. A little bit wider on this than I've seen out of other plays. Nothing wrong with it. Alright, let's see here. Left to right. Let's see if that makes much of a difference here. Uh-huh. Okay. Within 5 yards on each side. Nice. I like that play. I like what they did there. Run recognition, zero reason to zoom in. At some point they did, but it took them a while, and let the play work itself out right there on the screen. Okay, we're doing some things here. Let me just see. Got a scrambling quarterback right here. Okay, we're getting out farther behind him for zero reason. Well, now we get to see the referees, which doesn't help either. You got another 5, 7, 10 yards that direction. still going out, still zooming out, right? Still zooming out, right? Now we've got an extra 7 yards to the left and an extra 8 to 10 yards on the right. Switch that, right hand side, left hand side, but there's just a lot of extra space here. Putting the box up, so you want to make sure you keep everybody in the shot, right? Which they did, and it's just a matter of tightening up and really honing in on exactly where people are at. Special teams, punt, kick is away. Okay, you can drop the punter at this point. They are just zooming out to get everybody, and that works too. The farther you zoom out, the less detail you're going to see. I really want to see what those defenders are doing to get down to make the tackle. I want to see what the blockers are doing to keep them from doing that, and I want to see what the returner is going to do once he gets the ball. So all those things are going to be helpful. All right, we're going out farther. This is probably as far as I've seen out of any of the shots today. So just to highlight it, let's put the box up on it. Yep. Yep. Okay. Tighter setup. A little bit of space behind the quarterback on the right side. I tighten that up and then bump it over to the right, to the left side where the defenders are. You do have a scrambling quarterback, so it might make sense to keep a little more space behind him. But all it does is make for wider shots here when you possibly don't need it, right? If you're starting out wide and zooming out from there, you're going the wrong direction, right? And that's what we're seeing here. Okay. All right. Tightening up on their setup. Within 5 yards on each side. Still getting out wider. Not bad. Out wide again. There was a time where we used to call it the wide and tight shot, right? Wide was from the press box, tight was from the end zone. I got away from using that terminology because it really didn't fit what I was doing. I wasn't wide, right? If I'm wide, I'm doing it wrong. Wide means that I'm out farther than I need to be, or it's really a brief moment where I'm coming out wide for widening out just to keep the receivers in the shot. So I want to stay tight even from the press box shot. I want to stay tight to what the receivers are doing, what the defenders are doing, where the quarterback is on the edge. I want to stay tight on them, but it's going to be wider than the end zone shot, which is closer, right? So that's how they got that terminology to start. But I very quickly decided I wanted to get away from it because I wanted to define that it wasn't supposed to be wide. It was supposed to be tight to the players on on the field. And guess what? Sometimes you can't be any tighter than the players, right? The formation. If it's a spread formation, everybody's spread out all over the place. If it's a tight formation, you can get as tight as you want. There's no reason to zoom up and jerk the camera around, right? But just setting up and letting that play take place. Zooming up on it doesn't really help anybody at that point. No flag on that. No push off. Allegedly. Looked good to me. Special teams. Perfect. What the hand is going on here? No play. We're going to call that a no play. Set up and go again. The hand must be a signal to cut that part out or something, which somebody didn't get that signal, I guess. But it's understandable. Okay. Setting it up, going again. Yes. They're doing an excellent job of making sure that you're seeing every time the ball comes down to the returner or hits the ground, getting that hang time and yardage. Excellent. Good setup. Okay. Not bad. Okay. There was one defender that kind of stepped out right as he caught the ball. It makes sense that you're going to drop players out at some point. I do want to see, any quick responses that those defenders are going to make. Just a few steps after the ball's thrown, the ball's caught. There you go, just like that. That is perfect. Okay. All right. Whoa. Let's go back here. All right. Good setup. Everything's tight. I see everybody. And then the ball goes that direction. And let's just cut everybody out at that point. Nope. Nope. I don't need to see the Gatorade. I don't need to see the fan. I don't need to see the whatever this is, Surface bus. And here comes the zoom camera coming in at the last second, the drone camera. There's really no reason to do much of any of that at this point. You got a good shot, you zoomed out for a split second, and then started zooming back in. But just leave it. Let's see what these guys do. Let's see what this guy does. See if this guy's running this direction. I don't want to see these people. Okay. A little farther out on this one compared to other shots that I've seen today. So all in all, wasn't bad. Again, I only tend to notice that on the plays that are going to the left side of the screen. So kind of shaky, kind of jittery. That's something I've noticed in other Eagles film. It might be just a setting in the camera that you can tighten down on the tripod, or just one less cup of coffee that day can go a long way. If you're getting excited about the play, that makes sense. But just trying to keep your camera movement as smooth as possible. That's good stuff. Going back to the right now. Okay. Alright, so this play starts left and then goes back right. Cameraman does a great job following it, seeing what's happening, and adjusting accordingly. Little shaky, kind of abrupt movements. If you can smooth them out, slow them down just a little bit. Alright. Let's stop it here. 70%, right? So if you kind of break this down into 70% and 30%, that's about that. Maybe even 65-35, right? So just as a way of gauging how much of the screen you're using, if you just kind of imagine, what if this box were in the bottom corner, how much of that screen is actually being used. All right. Right to left. Wow. Diving handoff. That's a good shot. Motion before the play. They're lined up. Top to bottom. Does a good job of keeping everybody in. People were really pushing the route combination was going sideline to sideline. So at that point, you can't keep it as tight as you might want to right to left. You have to adjust for the top and bottom of the screen. And that changes, play to play. Right? Back to this, 70%. Seems to be where we're living in at this stage of the game. But not bad. It does, the routes do fill up at that point. Okay, setting up. Oh. So the setup was good. Ended up moving the camera just a little bit. A little bit of a zoom out. Looks good. Okay. I'm going to pause it for a second here. Alright. So you're at 70% in the box again. But right here, just a half second earlier, you're still within 5 yards on each side. That's not bad. The ball's away, and that's the point where you stop zooming out, which they did. Right? I'm not gonna knock it. I think that's consistent with keeping everybody in the shot and then responding to what's happening on the field. It could be tighter, but it's not bad. Wow, okay. Straight pull down run option. Alright. %. Right, and that's kind of what I'm looking at here is, how much of this space is really being used for football. Okay, so once you recognize that this is a option keep, at that point, following along. Filmer's just keeping a little more of a buffer around the edges on this drive compared to others. Might just be expecting to see more pass plays. I don't know. So what I'm seeing when I say that, what I'm seeing is this setup is not as tight as it could be, because they're really not framing it up top to bottom as tight as they could, right? About 90 to 95%. Run recognition, just seeing it a little sooner. Obviously nothing else was happening. Okay. Just out a little farther on this than we have on anything else. Yep. 80 to 85%. Yeah. Mm-hmm. All right, let's see if the offense has put it in the end zone. All right, little tighter setup here. Not so much receivers aren't spread both directions, allowing you to set up a little tighter. Receivers to the other side, same play, flip to the other direction. All right, 2-minute warning, 2nd and 9. Down 5 points. Can they put it in for the go-ahead score? That's good footage right there. Okay, came out a little wider than necessary. Definitely keeping everybody in the shot. Responding well to what's happening on the field. Okay, it's empty set. Receivers in every direction. Everybody running. Passes thrown. That's as good as you're going to see on that play. This filmer saw everything that needed to happen for that. Captured it perfectly. 27-26. Not happening. Okay. Special teams. Kickoff. All right. Keeping the kicker in the shot. On this one, it's not necessary. Other filmers in the NFL do not do that. It's about half and half. 50% of them do, 50% of them don't. Some of the best filmers that I've seen, some of the best footage that I've seen, comes from filmers dropping out the kicker after the kickoff. And you can clearly see they're not doing anything back there anyway. 99.999% of the time. I'm not going to, stay out wide for that 0.01% where the kicker is going to get involved in that. If he's going to get involved, he's going to end up back in the shot where you're seeing the returner coming up the field anyway. Okay? And it's the NFL. There's other angles that are going to see, different players from different angles. There's cameras all over the stadium. This application is not that, right? It's not the close-up shots or following any one player. It's the idea of the motion of the team, okay? The movement of the formation, the defense, the offense. You'll see it all happening on screen together and then responding accordingly. Man. Coming down the field late in the game. Wanted a flag. Should he have got it? It's right there on video. I can watch it. Filmer didn't miss a beat. On top of things. Going right to left at that. Okay, for all I've said about this filmer maybe doing better left to right. Right now, when it really counts, they are on top of it and staying tight and paying attention to where people are going. Run straight ahead, run recognition immediately, recognizing that everybody's going to be condensing on the ball and zooming in accordingly. Whew. Man, this is tight. What's going to happen here? Oh my goodness. Great job. Excellent work from the filmer. Awesome. Okay, a little shaky again. It's an exciting time. I don't know if the press box is shaking, if the stadium's shaking, if the crowd is that into it that everything's shaking and you can't get. Oh my goodness! And there it goes the other direction. Okay, so how about that to end the game? Wow. Wow. Hey, great job, cameraman. Paying attention to what's happening on the field, recognizing that that's a blocked kick, recognizing that it's going the other direction, not missing a single moment of that. Fantastic. Obviously, that's the way you wanted to finish up for the Eagles for that game, and they did not disappoint. The cameraman saw every moment of it, and we got to see it. We got to evaluate it. Coming in on Monday morning, they're going to get to watch this, and they're going to get to celebrate along with it, and not only celebrate but also evaluate anywhere where they can make improvements, and the cameraman can do the same. So all in all, there was 162 plays. 151 of those were positive. The bonus of 65% were excellent, leaving a total of 99.69% for this Week 3 game of the Philadelphia Eagles. There were some really, really good things happening for the Eagles filmer for this game, and I saw some tremendous opportunities for them to be very, very good, get over that 100% mark, and get into that top 5 in the NFL. So that's it for Cameraman Grades. Till next time.